If you're an Amazon seller who's increased your PPC spend time and time again just to see your ACoS skyrocket, and you're unable to scale your ad spend, which is causing your revenue to remain flat or worse, be down year over year, then this video is going to cover exactly how to approach auditing your PPC account to identify the correct actions that you need to take to scale. For those of you who don't know, my name is George Schwartz, and I've helped my clients generate more than $150 million in sales on the Amazon platform in 2025. And we recently helped this client achieve a $100 million run rate on the Amazon platform in March. Now, I run an agency called Extension Ecom, which is a full service Amazon management agency. And one of the biggest things that we help people with is scaling their ad spend efficiently so that they can grow their top line revenue and their bottom line profit at the same time. And one of the fastest ways to do that is to have basic frameworks around how to audit the account so that you can improve efficiency, how to audit the account so that you can improve growth, in addition to making sure that you have your listing set up. And in this video, I'm going to be covering Amazon PPC strategy, more specifically, how to reduce your ACoS and scale your sales. And the table of contents for today is that we're going to be chatting about setting goals, how to audit your account, our improving efficiency framework, our improving spend framework, and some nuance. So let's jump straight into setting goals. So when it comes to setting goals, it's very important for you to have two kinds of goals. One is a general goal and one's going to be a advertising goal. Now, from a general business goal, this is always going to be tied to either sales and revenue or profit. Now, when it comes to your advertising goals, these should really be based on tacos, ACoS, or ROAS, and then some people will have a budget goal behind that. Now, if you're wondering what any of these acronyms mean, tacos is your total advertising cost of sale. So this is going to be calculated by your ad spend divided by your total sales. And this is a great metric to analyze and understand holistic profitability of your account and your individual ASINs. You'll also have ACoS and ROAS, which are the inverse of each other. ACoS is advertising cost of sale, while ROAS is return on ad spend. And ACoS is just ad spend divided by ad sales, while ROAS is ad sales divided by ad spend. These two are really interchangeable. Now, the best metric to look at is tacos. Like I mentioned, you're going to be able to understand holistic profitability. So you'll be able to define, hey, I want a 20% net margin or whatever it might be. And in order to be at that number, I am able to spend X amount on ads. That's a 10% tacos, 20% tacos, 30% tacos, whatever that might be based on your COGS and other fees. And this is just a really easy metric to tell whether or not your Amazon channel is profitable holistically or not. And same with each individual ASIN within the catalog. Now, the second best metric is going to be ACoS because then you can see if you're profitably within your ads. However, I wouldn't recommend that because ads fuel organic rank on Amazon. Now, for CPG brands, ACoS is typically much higher because of the repeat purchase nature of the categories. You buy once, but then you buy 15 times on the back end if you like the product. And non-consumables typically need a much lower ACoS, much higher return because those people aren't going to be buying a standing desk like I'm currently using every 4 months, right? You're going to buy this and use it every 4 years. This standing desk brand does need to make a profit on each individual sale. Now let's jump into auditing your account. So the very first step to auditing your account is to analyze how you're doing compared to your goal. So here's an example. Let's say you have a 12% tacos goal and you want to spend about 600 a day in spend, but your actuals are that you have a 13.23% tacos and you're spending $560. Well, now you can look at your goals and say, hey, what is the priority here? And based on this, we are more concerned about profitability than spending cash. So, because it doesn't make sense to spend cash if it's not making money, right? So our objective here is to reduce tacos and to hit our 12% tacos goal. We need to go from 560 a day to 508 per day. Now, if you're an Amazon seller doing between 35,000 to 300,000 per month in sales, but you're struggling to scale your ads profitably on Amazon because every time you increase your ad spend, your ACoS becomes completely unsustainable, we can help you out by doing a completely free audit of your business, looking at your PPC strategy and your listing strategy to identify how we can help you run your ads more efficiently, index and rank for more terms to generate more organic sales, and how we can help you improve the conversion rates of your listing so all those shoppers you're driving via PPC convert more often. Feel free to book a call through the description or the pinned comment. Now that we've gone ahead and defined our objective, we then need to outline, hey, what audit do we want to run? So this is going to really fall into one of three buckets. You could have a growth audit, you could have an efficiency audit, or you would do efficiency first, growth second. Now for this scenario, we actually are up year over year. So really we're just focusing on becoming more profitable. So we're going to go ahead and run the efficiency framework like I mentioned before. Now we'll jump into what an efficiency framework is, what a growth framework is, and some nuance. Okay, so when it comes to improving efficiency framework, we want to start by defining what is our non-branded campaign ACoS. So that's what we mean by purchase ACoS baseline. So this is your average ACoS when advertising to non-branded consumers. And we only care about non-branded because branded very heavily skews the data. Your branded ads are always going to have the lowest ACoS, the highest return. So we don't want to take that into consideration when we're optimizing. And we also typically aren't heavily ramping brand, and we're also typically not heavily heavily cutting brand. You want to find that sweet spot for brand and then, leave it at that point and ramp it up as search volume comes in. Now, when it comes to non-branded, what we want to make sure we're doing here is we want to say, hey, our average non-branded ACoS is, let's call it 40%. Then we need to go ahead and define what's our total spend and our total sales, so we can just easily reference a statistically significant sample size of data as we build out our audit. And then we want to go through really 4 levers. I have it looking like 3 just for the sake of PowerPoint space here. But the 4 levels are pausing wasteful targets, decreasing bids and budgets. This would split into 2 typically, and then negations. So let's break down each individual one. So when it comes to pausing wasteful targets, you want to do 2x your ACoS baseline. So if I said our ACoS baseline is 40%, 2x would be 80%, right? Then what we want to do is we want to write out, okay, how much spend would that cut and how much sales would that cut? And we can easily reference that back to our total spend and total sales. And we can have a little bit of a catch where if we're going to cut too many sales, then we'd rather do a more aggressive bid decrease. Now, we also want to look at 0 orders that has spent money. And obviously you want a statistically significant sample size. So if it's a new campaign or a new target, we're going to want to let it have more than 2 clicks. But if it's 0 orders with, for a cheaper product, 20 clicks, or for a more expensive product, 80 clicks, then yeah, we definitely want to cut that. After we've identified all the wasteful targets we can cut, next thing we want to do is look at decreasing bids and budgets based on ACoS percentages. So let's say our ACoS is 40%, then we want to look at everything in that 75 to 100% bucket. So again, 100% would be 80% ACoS. So we're talking about 60 to 80% ACoS here. We want to do a 10% decrease. When it comes to that like 50 to 60% bucket, we want to do a 7% decrease. And when it's 40 to 50% ACoS bucket, we want to do a 4% decrease. Now, and the last thing we want to look at after decreasing bids and budgets is going to be negations. So what we want to do is we want to review our search term report, looking at our autos, our phrases, our broads, our pat expanded, and our cat that has high clicks, no sales, high click, low sales. There are irrelevant terms or there are a cluster of terms. The best example for cluster is we once had a brand come to us when there was that solar eclipse a couple of years ago. They're talking about how the word solar just kept popping up over and over again, no matter how many times they did individual negative exacts, it just kept popping up in different formats, and their product's actually not related to it at all. But you could just do a negative phrase for the word solar and all solar is eliminated. So if you have just this one term that keeps popping up, it's 1 click here, 1 click there, it adds up to 47 clicks, you can get rid of that term in one go with a negative phrase. Another great one is competitor brands. You could negate that phrase as well if you just never do well against them. Now, once you've gone ahead and implemented that improving efficiency framework, you want to give it time to reset, collect data, and then obviously you want to redefine, hey, is it time to push or do I need to further pull back? Now, let's say you want to push. Well, then you would use the increased spend framework. So again, we want that purchase campaign ACoS baseline just so we can understand, hey, how is our non-branded ads performing? We want to define our total spend and total sales just so we can easily reference a statistically significant sample size of data. And then we want to start off with increasing bids. So now what we want to do is, let's go back to our example, 40%. If it is less than 50% of the baseline, so now that'd be 20, we want to be doing an 8% increase. If it's 50 to 75%, so that's going to be that 20 to 30, we want to do that 5% increase. And if it's 30 to 40, we want to do a 3% increase. So all those terms that are performing well and non-branded, we're increasing bids to make them more visible. Next up is going to be the budget tab. We want to check that and increase budget to any campaigns that are doing good, that are less than that 40%, that are generating non-branded sales. Again, we don't care about the branded here, that are just running out of budget every single day. And then we want to go ahead and increase all of those campaigns. And the last and most difficult part of the growth framework is the campaigns to test and launch. So what we want to do is we want to graduate things from sponsored products to sponsored brands, or if they don't have any campaigns, we want to set them up on sponsored products. Sometimes we want to duplicate campaigns, right? Run an auto campaign 2 or 3 times just so we can get more exposure within the campaign types that work. Now, there is some nuance to both of these. So when it comes to efficiency, I did mention it. When cleaning up keywords and targets, be cautious about pausing high sales, high ACoS terms because they often drive high order volume that supports your organic rank. And they are high ACoS for a reason, right? The market sets the cost per click. So everybody wants to be appearing on that high search volume, highly competitive term because if they're organically on page 1 for it, they're making a lot more total profit. Now, if you were to cut that term or decrease it too aggressively, it may improve ACoS in the console, but the loss in organic rank can result in a loss in organic sales and cause profitability to get worse. Now, if you notice search terms with high CTR as well, but they have poor conversion rate, you want to review the listing before pausing and identify, hey, why are these things getting clicked at such a high rate, but just not selling? That could be a signal that your listing needs to be optimized. Now, when it comes to the growth framework, when you're selecting campaigns to launch, you want to work backwards from the highest probability of success. So this always starts with your top sellers. Make sure they're on their sponsored products campaigns. Then you want to graduate those winning terms and winning targets within sponsored products to sponsor brands videos, sponsor display. And then you want to continue to work through the rest of the catalog, because your top seller is always going to outperform your 25th best seller. And it's also going to have a larger impact on your account. Now, what we want to do on the growth side is we want to utilize the search term report to identify anything with a low CTR and a high CVR, right? When the people actually do click through, they do buy quite often. We want to add those keywords to a campaign with an aggressive top of search placement modifier, because top of search has the highest click-through rate. But also, going back to the efficiency framework, we would also want to take into consideration the main image and see if we need to do a main image improvement to that listing. So to conclude here, effective Amazon advertising comes down to three things: knowing your goals, understanding where you stand, and taking the right actions to close the gap. So whether you're focused on efficiency or growth, the process starts the same. Define your tacos target, measure your actuals, and then let the gap drive your decision making. From there, your objective determines your playbook. Either you're going to tighten your bids and budgets and cut waste, or you're going to increase your bids and budgets and launch campaigns. Now, always remember that the numbers don't always tell the full story, and the best PPC managers think strategically about what's going to occur based on the actions. They don't just apply frameworks. Like I mentioned before, if you are an Amazon seller doing between $35,000 and $300,000 a month, we will do a completely free audit of the business. Our team spends over 10 hours looking into your business, analyzing it, and using the frameworks that helped our clients do more than $150 million in sales last year in 2025. And then we walk you through exactly what we would recommend you do, and either we can implement it for you, or you can take that information and implement it yourself. Either way, it's a completely free win for you and your business. So again, feel free to click the link in the description or the pinned comment to book a call, and our team will take care of you from there. Thanks for watching the video. Like, comment, and subscribe.